When it comes to childbirth by means of surrogacy, the law is clear that both intended parents have to be domiciled in South Africa to use a local surrogate. But that didn't stop a woman who ran an agency to supply surrogates and is even accused of trying to sell a baby.
Surrogacy is the ultimate altruistic act of carrying a baby to full term for a desperate would-be parent who can't have children.
You should do this out of the willingness of your heart. It's not about the money at all.
Mardi Barnard saw a Facebook ad for an agency called Destiny Babies looking for surrogates. She was going through a breakup and looking for a purpose, so she signed up.
I met a wonderful IP, an intended parent. Got along great. We had, I think, 6 eggs frozen of hers, and every IVF cycle was a negative test. So by the last round, I broke down and I started crying. And I said to her, no, we're not done yet. Let me give you one of mine. First round, I got pregnant.
Unbeknown to her, Mardi's surrogacy journey was against the law, because in South Africa it's illegal for a surrogate baby to have no DNA of the intended parent. And the baby Mardi was carrying was created from her eggs and donor sperm. The woman who owned Destiny Babies and who managed and organized this whole illegal surrogacy was Leanne Stradham. We tracked Leanne down expecting a confront, but instead she welcomed us in and was totally upfront about breaking the law.
Before I was involved in surrogacy, it was almost impossible finding a surrogate in South Africa. I did so much illegal stuff before that, like advertise for people to get a surrogate.
And it was illegal?
To advertise, yeah, it was illegal. You weren't allowed to say, well, we will pay your medic, we will see that your expenses is covered. You are not allowed to say anything like that.
Baby was born very, very early, at 32 weeks. About a month after that, he was released from hospital. She had him for about 3 weeks, and then we got a call from Leanne saying, Mum is not doing well, and if she can give the baby back. Or there's a couple that's willing to pay like 400 or 500 grand for the baby. I immediately said, there's no way.
She was actually saying there was a buyer.
There was a buyer.
Pay up to $500,000 for the baby.
Yes.
Mardi claims that you wanted to buy a baby from her.
This is like totally ridiculous.
According to Mardi, she refused to sell the baby, and so she took custody of the child herself. A little while after this incident, Leanne closed Destiny Babies and started working at Medfem as their surrogacy coordinator. This is where Mardi did her second surrogacy journey.
You now had 2 young ones at home?
Yes.
And you decide to go through surrogacy once again?
Yes. That feeling of, wow, you made someone's dream come true of becoming a parent. It was amazing. It was like almost like a high.
The problem was that Mardi's intended parents were not from South Africa. So again, what Leanne was doing was illegal. Robin Friedman is a top surrogacy attorney.
Our surrogacy law is only available for persons who are living in South Africa. They have to be permanently resident in South Africa or permanently employed on a permanent resident status. So our law is very strict in this regard.
This was not the only surrogate that Leanne was working with. Lisa, not her real name, was desperate to help a couple fulfill their dream of having a child genetically connected to them.
Did you know that the commissioning parents weren't from South Africa?
I knew that they were not from South Africa the first time we met. I think they were approved first by Medfem to look for surrogates. So I thought maybe everything they have done was within the parameters of the law.
Did Medfem know that in certain cases the intended parents weren't from South Africa?
No, they didn't.
Robin was the first one to figure out that what Leanne was doing was actually forging official High Court orders to make these illegal surrogate agreements look legitimate.
Okay, let's compare. Leanne was copying and pasting on my original High Court orders. for example, her Israeli clients' names on these High Court orders. She would then change the case number. So on the face of it, I have to hand it to her. She was doing a very good job.
I got a call from Robin saying our journeys are illegal. Immediately my mind just flashed back to, not again, this is not happening.
Because the surrogacy was now unlawful, Mardi again became the legal guardian of the child she was carrying.
I said to the IPs, I'm going to place this baby up for adoption.
Lisa only found out she was the legal guardian of her twins 11 months after they left the country.
So Lisa, did your whole thinking change when you found out that the twins were still legally yours?
I told my lawyer that I actually think of keeping those babies. I gave so much into the pregnancy, and for the fact that they misled me, I wanted to claim them as mine.
It's standard practice for all potential surrogates to undergo a psychological evaluation to ensure they are emotionally equipped to handle what they're getting into. None of Leanne's surrogates were evaluated prior to insemination. But when Mardi's intended parents went to the High Court to get back their parental rights, she saw a psychologist for the first time.
At 32 weeks, we met with a psychologist, and she said, I don't know how, but you were never supposed to be a surrogate. You're not mentally fit to be one.
Even though part of Lisa now wanted the twins back, she couldn't afford to fight an international legal battle. So she signed over legal guardianship 24 months after the twins were born.
How does this make you feel about Leanne?
She didn't care about my well-being. To her, I was just an animal where they had to harvest and then just go.
Mardi also eventually signed the baby over to the intended parents. Although these babies eventually landed up where they were supposed to be, the whole process was traumatizing for everyone involved.
They pushed me through the doors. I was on bed, ready, basically in position for my C-section. My friend came in with her doctor's mask and she said, listen, the dad just said, I'm not allowed to take any photos. And the one thing I asked my friend is, just take a photo for me. I just want to see what she looks like. And I immediately just started, started crying, and it was very, very horrible. Doctor pulled her out. Then the nurse took her and they went to weigh her, and I just heard her cry, and I haven't any idea what she looks like, and that's a year ago.
I helped a lot of people in South Africa that didn't qualify to do surrogacy, and people from outside of the country. Whenever these people came into my office and they would cry after years and years of bonds and they can't do it, I would feel so heartbroken for them, and I would...
But Leanne has had a reason to commit fraud and forgery.
I think once you work with people's emotions, you don't think further than the repercussions.
I don't know how Leanne can honestly believe that she was performing any kind of service or good deed to any parents out there or to any surrogates out there. Leanne was potentially opening the doors for foreigners to exploit our surrogacy systems and potentially using our surrogacy systems in South Africa for the wrong purpose, and opening the doors for child trafficking, for paedophiles, creating children for illegal criminal acts.
After Medfem figured out what Leanne was doing, they immediately dismissed her and criminal charges were laid against her for fraud and forgery.
Are you running any surrogacy business at the moment?
No, thank God I'm not.
You're out of it?
No, totally. I'm totally out of it. I've been out of it since I left Medfem.
Did you ever take money from intended parents from overseas to find them a surrogate and not provide the surrogate?
I think that there was times where they paid me to find them a surrogate, and I had to stop with the process, and then I needed to refund them for that amount. Yes.
And you didn't?
I didn't. The last, I think it was about 4 or 5 processes, I didn't. I couldn't.
Why?
Because obviously I left Medfem, so there was no way. So
you couldn't afford to refund them?
I couldn't afford to refund them, that's right.
So you took the money but hadn't provided the service?
Yes. They knew the risk from the beginning because they were not from South Africa. So we all were aware of the risks.
The South African Police Services said they can't find Leanne, so the case is on hold, but Leanne says they interviewed her on Friday.
When were you last in touch with Leanne?
She contacted me offering me 100,000 just so not to talk.
She offered you 100,000 rand
Yes.
to keep quiet.
Yes.
Did you offer Lisa 100,000 rand to keep quiet about
No,
this?
where would I get that money?
Well, from all the money you've made from surrogacy.
No, there's no way.
That's not true.
No, that's definitely not true.
Will you admit that you were at times making large sums of money?
Oh, of course I was making money. Of course, if you take 5 or 10 processes and you put all of that together, that's like a large sum.
Neither an agent nor a surrogate is ever allowed to be paid for their services. Their motivation has to be selfless.
Exploitation of surrogate mothers is a huge problem. The surrogate mothers that we are allowed to source have to come from decent living circumstances. They have to be financially well-resourced. They have to be emotionally well-resourced. So we prevent the exploitation of our poorer communities.
Leanne, I mean, you're admitting so many times to me that you broke the law.
I'm not going to lie. I'm not
So
going to
I'm
lie.
asking you, how many occasions don't we know about?
Well, I wouldn't be able to say.